all of you, a warm welcome to yet another engaging session of RecRoute. So I'm here joined with Yogesh. So we can start the slides, Yogesh. You can move on. So Monster APAC and ME is now founded. We have trusted with more than 50,000 recruiters for their hiring requirements. This is in continuation to our past webinars on various topics, business critical topics, where our industry leaders spoke about strategies for successful hiring, harnessing the power of data in recruitment, and so on. We've had some really engaging webinars in the past. Session number 26. So a warm welcome once again to all of you for yet another engaging session of RecRoute. For the interest of the audience here, please note that this webinar is being recorded. Ask your questions in the Q&A box. Tell us how we did in the survey. We'll have a feedback mailer coming, and also we'll share the recording via email to all of you. The topic for today is what recruiters can learn from marketers, and I'm quite excited for this session with Yogesh. So Yogesh happens to be the Director of Product Marketing at foundit with some really rich experience in marketing with foundit and his previous organizations. I happen to lead the talent acquisition piece at foundit, and together we thought that we will look at the aspects of marketing and recruitment which go so well and are so similar in terms of the work that we do, day-to-day work, and how we as recruitment people, talent acquisition folks, can learn from marketing with some insights from Yogesh coming in.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Priya. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you to the audience, to everyone who's here and also who will be viewing the recording later. I, for one, am really, really excited about something I'm personally passionate about in terms of teaching marketing to different folks. And I'm super pumped that I have the opportunity to do the same for a very, very different audience. So Priya, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm also looking forward to this session, Yogesh, with you. So folks, just to give a head start to this conversation, what we led between me and Yogesh when we were talking, we shared the challenges which as talent acquisition folks we face day to day. We know that there are challenges with respect to accessing the database. We know there are very limited people who are actually active on job boards. There is a lot of passive database that gets untapped, that is not available for the recruiters to use. The search is a little difficult with limited insights with respect to the details that are provided by the candidates. There are because of which obviously there are delays in the shortlisting process as itself. The connect is also very difficult when we are trying to reach out to huge number of candidates for our positions. The connect is not personalized enough. That is another challenge which conventionally in the hiring process we've been facing. To look at the data validation, prioritizing information over the insights and things like that. There are a lot of challenges that we face, and then day-to-day problem of not being able to onboard the candidate, post the offer, delay in joining, and things like that. So these are some of the challenges in the conventional hiring process, day-to-day basis that any talent acquisition person would vouch for. We face these challenges day in day out in our day-to-day work. And all these challenges that we are referring to are not, just challenges that one person is stating that they are generic, but having said that, they are all data backed. We know that 1/3 of the TA professionals' work goes, in just sourcing the candidates for a single role. Sourcing itself consumes so much of time for a talent acquisition resource. Candidates, can be accessed by means of companies and employees networks. We know that is how the trends are for the recruitment folks. Talent acquisition teams also find high quality candidates through sourcing than inbound applications. We have to source rather than looking at candidates who are approaching us for our positions. Mostly the positions that are closed are through active sourcing by the talent acquisition folks. And similarly on the candidate side, we know that 70% of the global force are from the passive talent pool that is there, who aren't actually searching for a job, but that is the talent pool that we as recruiters would want to go ahead, and as talent leaders we would want to see that they are the ones who are joining our company, because they are the ones who are actually going to add value to the company's efforts. 89% of the talent says that they are contacted by recruiters can make them accept an offer. They may not be actively out in the market seeking jobs, but once a recruiter talks to them well about the positions the company well, there are high chances that a passive seeker might also convert into an active seeker. So all these challenges that we are facing at the same time, they're all data backed. They are not mentioned for the sake of it. So Yogesh will help us understand how the marketing activities, how they are linked to talent acquisition activities, and how we can find synergy in the two, and what are the tips that as talent acquisition folks we can take from the marketing function.
Great. That's a great. Thank you so much, Priya. So as I look at these statistics, one thing strikes my mind is that so much of this is exactly like what happens on the B2B marketing side, right? So customers are not looking for products or solutions at any point of time. They don't want to be sold to. And similarly, you would imagine that the best candidates who are out there, the best prospects are out there, probably already doing well at their jobs, are probably happy with the position that they are in, and are quite satisfied with the employer that they are working with, but they still might tip over when approached with the right objective, with the right message, and with the right approach, right? So one thing I'm curious about, I just want to put a quick poll over here where I wanted to ask folks on the session today to check what sort of challenges do you see? Just so you would see a poll, a question that's coming up, and I'll just leave this up there while we're having this discussion, right? So the fundamental nature of any key messaging that we are trying to achieve, whether it be for recruitment or whether it be to sell a product, it all boils down to the fact that we are saying the right thing at the right time, and also saying it at the right in the right fashion, right? So the timing is important. The message itself is important, and of course, the segmentation of how we look at the audience is also super important, because then we would, if not, we would get to a situation where we are seeing a lot of things. We are throwing a lot of marketing messages out there. We are throwing a lot of recruitment mails out there, but we're not getting anything in return. And the discussion that you and we have been having in preparation for this has sparked the thought in me of what is it that recruiters and marketers can learn from each other? What can we take away from each other? Because at the end of the day, in both professions, really, it is a very person-to-person connect that you're trying to create. While it is a very person-to-person connect that you're trying to create, the challenge is that you still want to do it at scale. While it might not be so much of an onerous position when you're searching for just one or two roles, but then when you magnify it, when you especially look at the number of positions that you're going to try to close out at any point of time, when the number of really good candidates who are there start numbering the hundreds or even the thousands, how do you start having that personal touch? I think those are some tips and tricks which I wanted to sort of call out on this call today, and maybe walk through that just a little bit, right? So without further ado, just put a couple of slides over here on talking about why I believe that marketing is so much like recruiting and vice versa. In both cases, we are trying to adapt to a particular persona. That means figuring out who is it that we want to send this message to, what is that message that is going to be there that is actually going to prompt them to take a certain action, whether it be buying the solution or buying the product or replying to a recruiter's mail. What is the journey that candidates have? What is the journey that customers have? As you drive them through the entire flow of the first touch that we have to closure. The other part that is in common is the customer centricity and the candidate focus that needs to be built into the entire processing and really into the psyche, the mindset of the recruiter or the marketer themselves. And both are very, very data-driven professions. especially in this day and age with so much data that is available out there in terms of the kind of people that we want to attract, how we are going to be going on doing it, and how we are tracking those metrics. And then use all of that to build the right narrative, do the campaigns, and see what the conversions are going to be like at the end of the day. Because for me, as a person who's in marketing, I'm always, one question that I keep asking my team is, how are the metrics? What sort of open rates do we have? What sort of close rates do we have? How many are we? How many leads? How many potential customers are we handing over and sending over to sales teams? Right. So I think that's a very, very critical piece there. And I couldn't help but wonder that even for you, Priya, it's a very, very similar situation, right? So you have a team of talent acquisition specialists with you, but as a leader, you need to be laser focused on those business metrics as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You need to know, what are the timelines within which you've closed the position? What is the offer to joining ratio? What is the source mix? From where did you get these, candidates? Did you exploit all these sources that are available, to identify the right candidates? What is the quality of hire looking like? So, we have to, dig deep into all these matrices and see, how the recruitment funnel is looking like for each position, each vertical, because it's different for different verticals. So it's exactly the same.
Yeah, that brings me to the next topic of what is a marketing funnel, right? So for any classical marketer, the awareness to interest to consideration to action to preference and purchase cycle is the basis of any message that we send out. Based on the target audience, we are trying to build the story on why do you have to believe that what we have to offer is important. How do you continue to build that interest in terms of whether the product is something that's suitable for you, that's viable for you, and then get you into a phase where you are actually able to bring folks into the shop, either whether it's an online shop or whether it's or it's a physical shop, or maybe have a salesperson call upon you and show the product, whether it be life insurance, whether it be a SaaS solution, or whether it be a bottle of soft drink. The story is still the same. You still go through the same sort of cycle, and recruiting is no different. You still have the same set of considerations or same set of objectives that you want to meet. When you have a much larger pool of talent, you want to attract your audience. That is by building awareness. You want to get them to show. You want to show to them that you're going to be a viable employer for them by the virtue of your branding, and get them to consider you for the specific job that you want them to hire, that you're hiring for, right? And this goes back to the principles of marketing in terms of top of the funnel. The message that we have is very, very high level. We talk about the larger stories that we have as a brand. But then when you get to the consideration phase, it's about what is in it that is specifically available for a particular buyer. Similarly here, how do you convince the candidate that you as an employer and the job that you're representing is the best choice that they can pick up, leading right up to the phase where the job seeker actually accepts the offer and joins, right? And this is a purchase phase in the marketing sales cycle. So when I think about it, digital marketers are a lot like the employer branding initiatives that we do. And then we have folks who are doing demand generation, who I try to draw parallels between what a lot of junior TAs might be doing in terms of reaching out to a large bunch of folks and do a certain amount of qualification and talking to them and introducing the topic, right? And ultimately getting to a stage where the handing over the lead, in this case, the lead is sent for marketing is sent to a salesperson, but then for recruiting the lead, that is the candidate, is sent to the hiring manager.
Right.
It's up to the hiring manager, the talent acquisition specialist, as well as the other folks who are in the team to convince that candidate that this role is something that is good for them. It fits in with their career needs that they're aspiring to, and offers them the best of opportunities to showcase their skills and build upon their competencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Priya, just a quick question over here. So how do you associate with this? Because as a talent leader, so when you're talking to your team, where do you see this relating with the way your team members start doing the reach outs, and especially when you start reporting these out as business metrics, and what are your observations and points that you might want to tell the audience about?
So as suggested earlier, Yogesh, we have to dig deep into the various matrices. You have to look at whether all the source mix has been explored. What has been the conversation with the, candidates. So something that, strikes me here is it is very important that how you are building the brand of the company for which you are hiring, how you have presented. Because I also have seen that, in my team, there are two recruiters, the way they pitch a position, to the candidate also, makes a difference in that candidate's response to us. If we are able to, have a good synergy between what the candidate wants and what we have in store for the candidate, that's when we have an ideal candidate in place, because that person will be able to add value to the position that we have, and at the same time he'll be happy, knowing that there is a career path set out for him. So it is very important, when I speak to my team members, I tell them that please make sure that, we are, generating enough interest and ensuring that all the information required from the point of view of our branding employer value proposition is something very critical and very seriously taken by us when we are talking to our candidates. And it's also important that, personalization when we are talking to them with respect to their interests. It can't be, something that we are talking which may not align with their career aspirations. That doesn't work. Eventually the person will fall out of the interview process. So it is very important that from the time the candidate, we interact with the candidate till the time that the person joins, everything is aligned with respect to what we want as an organization to hire and what the candidate is also aspiring in as per his future requirements. So it is it's both ways it works. So these matrices that I mentioned about, whether it is offer to joining, whether the source mix has been checked, what is the timelines within which you have actually interviewed the candidate, from the time he's started the interview process till the time he's closed his offer or the joining. Every metrics here is very important. So this is something that is very important and very rightly put by you, that how closely, these, there is a synergy between what is being done at the marketing and, how it closely is, similarly done by the TF folks together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Priya. So for the audience, I think we do have the chat, the Q&A section that might be open right now. So if you have any questions that you have right now while we don't have the audio on, please feel free to add in your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to it once we get to the end of the session. Priya, just getting back to an earlier conversation that we had, right? So when I think of this entire cycle, you're talking about the employer value proposition as a story. And to me, that's a very, very long game that we have to play. It's not an instant gratification kind of scenario.
Absolutely.
The moment you decide to switch on your hiring pipeline, you can't expect candidates, right? Mm-hmm. And it all starts with really trying to identify who are you trying to attract, what are the kind of positions that you're trying to fill up. So there's so much work that needs to be done in conjunction with the business. So when you and I, when we talk about hiring for, let's say, for the marketing team, right? You need to understand much ahead in before context, so that your team actually understands who do we need on board, what sort of person do we need on board. And that brings me to what we call
candidate,
the candidate persona. So in marketing, we have the ICP. The ICP is defined as the ideal customer persona. So I just took the liberty to scratch out customer and call it the candidate persona in this case. And very, very similar to marketing, the story over here is that we need to, it's a semi-fictional profile that we try to develop on the ideal person who would be a good fit for the solution that we have or for the role that we have. So for instance, if I'm looking for somebody who wants to buy a teleconference solution like Zoom, as an example, which is the platform that we are using now. Who do we want to reach out to? It could be a marketing manager, it could be a telecoms engineer or a network engineer in a company. But we need to be absolutely sure that we are selling to the person who's most likely to be actually go through the entire sales process and close at the end of the day. Similarly, for recruiting as well, the way I think about it, describe your ideal candidate. So, for instance, if you're hiring for a product manager's role and you're working for a SaaS company, you might prefer somebody who has that sort of a background because they tend to be a little more of a cultural fit in terms of the processes, the tools that they have used, in terms of the agility. There's a good fitment over there. And you also need to see the kind of hard skills and soft skills that they bring to the table, right? So from a marketing perspective, while the ICT is a critical story, I would imagine that even for you and your team also, you need to understand who these folks are, who do we want to talk to, and how do you develop that before we actually get there.
Yeah, so we have to, like very aptly put the candidate persona is literally the starting step for us to, get started with any position. So before we get on to the search, we engage in a detailed discussion with the hiring manager to understand what are the must-haves, what are the skill sets, what are the, industries they want us to target. So what is the ideal candidate who would actually fit in your kind of, requirement, and what are the, activities that he or she is going to do. So basically, initially setting those details in place, it makes it easy for us to set the target audience, right? So from the beginning, when we are, very clear on what the candidate persona is, we know that what is the target we need to capture. And from there, whatever comes in, then it's easier. I mean, the quality and that, everything gets taken care of because half the job is done if we have got somebody from the exact industry, exactly similar kind of background, then it becomes very easy to close a position. So this is the starting step, I would say, and a very important critical stage for any talent acquisition expert.
Absolutely. And for both for marketing, sales, as well as for recruiting, knowing this essentially sets the filters on whatever database that you're searching for, right? So for the folks on the webinar today, the image that you see over here is actually a representation of some of the really nice things that are coming to the foundit recruiter platform very, very soon, where we're actually able to get a lot of insights about the candidate. So if you're able to figure out what sort of a person that you're looking for, what sort of an education background that they have, what sort of certifications that they have, we are bringing some really, really exciting updates to the platform. Happy to get you all on a demo after this call. We'll put out a poll, but essentially developing that ideal candidate persona, using it in the right way in whatever database, because it's something that I push with my teams as well, with my demand gen teams as well. Search with the right set of criteria for the products. When you have a product is meant for a particular type of a person. If you pitch the wrong product to the wrong person, then it means it's a message that's wasted. It's an opportunity that is lost, which is very similar to I'm sure which is very similar to the journey that you tell your team to go through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're not clear on what the candidate persona has to be like for a particular role, then you are actually starting on a wrong note. So beginning itself is not right there. This is very critical.
Yeah. So once we nail that persona, right? So here's what I believe are some of the key components of great recruitment marketing, right? And a lot of these, I just a week and 10 days ago, when we started talking about putting this webinar together, I asked a few of my colleagues and ex-colleagues in marketing the simple question on what do you think that recruiters should know about marketing? So a few things really stood out. I will come to those pointers in just a bit. We have put them in the form of a few tips for the audience today. But broadly speaking, the ability to send out nurture emails and marketing emails for the purpose of recruiting came out as number one. Social media, using the usage of social media as a tool to attract candidates. And the use of paid campaigns, whether it via LinkedIn, YouTube, or via other platforms, was a close third, right? So, and obviously the one that you're all definitely familiar with is other career pages that you can, as well as review sites and Glassdoors and any referral hiring that is done, right? But For the purpose of today's call, I wanted to touch upon email, social media, and the career pages to a certain extent, because those are the three things that sort of came up as things where folks said recruiters need to be able to effectively execute, take up these campaigns, take up these channels, these medias, and push messages to them so that candidates as a whole, number one, know you as a brand, are able to be, you can reach out to them as individuals and nurture those relationships over a period of time. Because as we mentioned before, this is a long game. Just like in marketing, nurturing a prospective customer or nurturing a prospective candidate for a role in the future is a long game. It's not a short-term activity which we cannot take lightly at all. The power of social media recruiting was a big piece for a lot of folks, right? And you know the story of how it helps build up employer branding, how you can reach passive candidates. And more importantly, when you as a recruiter have an active social media presence, you develop a level of authenticity and trust so that when candidates actually get a message from you, they know who you are. Because I can guarantee you, when you reach out to a candidate, when you send them an email, whether it be a mass email or whether it be a one-on-one email or LinkedIn, or you call them on the phone or send them a message, they are looking you up on Facebook, they are looking you up on Instagram or LinkedIn or any of the other social media sites that are there. So they do check out what sort of a profile you have, how active you're being, because it is only human to figure out what the other person what the person on the other side of the line is actually thinking about and what their antecedents are. Just the way you are checking out candidates, candidates are also checking you out as individuals. That leads me to tip number one. Tip number one for recruiters: create a personal brand for yourself. I say this to marketing, I say this to sales, and I say this to recruiting as well. Creating a personal brand for yourself on platforms on like LinkedIn and Twitter is going to be absolutely key, absolutely critical in ensuring that you develop that relationship with a wide pool of candidates, with a wide audience. And you do that by making sure that it's not just your profiles being updated, but also by sharing relevant information, sharing your thoughts, sharing your genuine thoughts. And that means that you as individuals also need to think deeply about the matters that you are concerned with. If you're a tech recruiter, you might want to start talking about tech tips. If you are hiring for marketing roles, you might want to put out posts like, here's what I look for in a marketing professional. So developing that authenticity is, I think, tip number one that I have for recruiters. The second piece that I want to quickly touch upon is the story of employer branding. Employer branding, while we all know it is extremely important, I think there are a few things that we can quickly start doing to develop that level of authenticity and show what you can offer to your customers, right? So the example that I've put up over here on this image is the employer branding page for Capgemini, who are actually one of Foundit's customers. And in fact, when you go to the Foundit India website, you do have a Capgemini specialty page where they talk about their purpose as an employer, their brand promise, their values and ethics, linked to their social media feeds, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, and so on. There are YouTube videos which has employer talks, and all of this put together forms a very, very solid base for candidates to actually believe you. Recruiters, like marketers, need to believe in the power of these landing pages. Marketers build these landing pages so that when a prospect lands upon these pages, there is a certain amount of conviction and trust that is built in. We are showing use cases. We are showing how other people have experienced your brand, experienced your product. We are showing what does the audience actually have to gain if you sign up for this particular product. So similarly with employer branding, I think it's important to showcase what you have to offer. Now, employer branding does not have to be something that is just restricted to larger organizations. Smaller organizations take advantage of it too. There are simple solutions that we can have. For instance, we can create an employer branding page for you. And I would encourage you to check that out if you don't have that already. You can do featured posts. There are social media posts that we can help you out with.
This is a very important page, Yogesh. I just wanted to talk about the career page because as when we were speaking, every candidate who's wanting to apply for a particular position definitely goes through the career page because he or she wants to know what is the culture like in the organization, what is it that the company is promoting. So all these things are very critical in building a brand for any company.
Absolutely, and that's our second tip to the audience, right? Make sure that you're able to create those exceptional online experiences. Uh, your target candidates need to show that you have a sense of purpose. They need to see that you have a commitment as an employer of choice for them, so that you're building up your pipeline not just for the roles that you have open as of now, but even a quarter down the line or even 2 quarters down the line. Because the biggest uh, benefit that you can do for yourself by doing something like this is reducing your time to hire by making sure that you're set in the minds of prospective candidates. So then we have email marketing. I do have a small typo over here, so please ignore that. Email marketing is going to be email marketing continues to be a tool of choice for marketers as well as for recruiters. So in our conversation earlier, Priya, you were saying that that sending out email, that your team sending out emails is the number one way that you're reaching out to candidates. Besides being able to provide the personal touch, you also have the opportunity to personalize at scale, and you build that authority when you start showing up in your target audience's inboxes week after week, month after month. You wouldn't want a situation where folks are going to ask you, no, I never heard of you as a brand. Can you please tell me who you are again? By reaching out to these folks, offering them something of value with continuous engagement and not leaving it to one phone call or to an email, it is possible for you to keep that connection tight and make sure that you're segmenting and so that you're sending the right message at the right time. And in fact, that's actually tip number. You can actually bring that to life very, very easily, right? So there are a whole bunch of tools that are out there which you can use right now. You can use generative AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude.ai to actually put out mails, messages, and templates which are clear, which are written well. That is, if you don't have the time to create them. You should definitely be leveraging email sequences. When I say sequences, and this is a best practice from marketing, is that you don't stop at just one email. You do multiple messages over a predetermined period of time. Right. So you send the first email, you add a follow-up after a certain number of days, and use that to build up an automation sequence and then track those metrics. Right. So the combination of using messaging and creating sequences and then creating that automation, then assessing those metrics is, I think, a superpower that now recruiters can actually start leveraging right away. The GIF that we have put up over here is actually a representation of what is actually going to be available in our product, in the founded product for recruiters very soon. And happy to show a demo out of it. You can message us on the group or answer the poll. But essentially, what it helps you to do is use the power of generative AI. It helps you create sequences, even if you're sending messages at bulk. Because the biggest challenge, that just like it is for marketing, is when you want to send out a message to people in bulk, how do you personalize? Whenever I've got an email from a recruiter saying, "Dear candidate, I would like to consider you for role X," it puts me off. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will align with it. I know recruiters, we wouldn't want to do that. I know for sure as marketers, we don't want to do that as well. We want to be as personalized as possible. But the question is, how do you do it at such large scale? When you're sending out an email, when you're sending out emails to 5,000 people, 10,000 people, how do you do it? I think that's one of the challenges that we have tried to tackle, and that's something that we have really brought in. And I think as a marketer, it makes me happy that this is a solution that is now available beyond marketing as well. And of course, the metrics are absolutely important. The metrics of what are the open rates like, what are the click-through rates like, what are the responses rates like, because it then tells me whether a certain campaign is working or whether it is not working, or if I need to tweak it and iterate it. Right. So I think this is a very, very, very critical piece, which is actually tip number 3. right? So make sure as recruiters, you're leveraging automation to create personalized campaigns at scale. Marketers have been doing this very, very effectively over the last several years. And I'm sure all of us on this webinar have received at least 10 marketing emails by this time today, right? So especially with the ability of the tool, availability of the tools rather, it is possible for recruiters to take advantage of that as well and make sure that we are actually present in the inboxes of candidates so that they actually are able to promote their story, get the job description out there, and get them to respond. I just want to check how we are doing on time, Priya. I think we are like at 36 minutes at the bottom of the hour. Any thoughts on this particular tip in terms of personalization? What's your experience been with?
My experience, I mean, rightly so, it's a challenge when you are, sending emails to 2,000 and plus, candidates. So it's very important that they are also getting a personalized message, because I believe that, even when I am getting a mail which is more personalized, written to me directly, something which is, the context is right, then I would want to open and read it. And secondly, the follow-up, angle here is so critical, because there is a tendency to miss mails, right? So when you are nudged once, we've missed the mail second time or third time, then you actually end up opening that mail and seeing, because I've had personally this experience of closing a position by means of actually nudging some candidates 2-3 times, and convert some passive candidates from the lot that I was chasing, and eventually have them offered. So this happens. So it becomes easy for us because it's more personalized. So they would definitely look into it. If you are regularly, at timed intervals, you're sending them mailers, so they are likely to not miss your message, which also happens because when you're sending mails to so many, there are a lot of people who find it like junk, and they may not open it. When it goes twice or thrice to them, the tendency open rates are better. And then when they open and then see the content given is actually very personalized and in line with what they want, then they definitely respond, even if they're not keen. My experience has been, even if they're not keen, they're helping us with further some people in their network who would be the best fit. So I've had such experiences. So it's very important that you are writing the right kind of mail, setting to the target audience, that actually makes a difference to the hiring. It actually shortens your time to hire. It definitely is very critical.
Excellent insights. The next slide I have is, I just wanted to throw this out there. Just wanted to introduce you very, very quickly on how you can achieve a bunch of these with Foundit, right? So social media, email automation, and the employer branding, which is the career pages, right? So these are all solutions that we have with us. We do have a social media promotion service that we have. Email automation is something that is just about to come in. This is among multiple other updates we are actually making through the Foundit Recruiter tool. So if all the recruiters over here, if you have used Foundit in the past, you'll be happy to know that we are coming up with a whole bunch of changes in the next few weeks or so, which brings you the power of not only looking at the active candidates who are part of Foundit, but also passive candidates who might not be part of the regular database that we have. In addition to that, we have a whole set of tools that we have brought in to bring together the ability for you to create automated outreach campaigns. And that's what the GIF that we have on the screen is actually showing. It has placeholders, it has follow-up mails, you can set up templates that you can send to candidates in bulk. And of course, we have the ability to also create your employer landing pages for you and feature you as employers of choice, and show them to the candidates that we have who visit our pages. I'll just throw a quick poll over here, just to see if just to get a sense of if you would like to get a quick demo of our new product. Happy to set up a call. We have a few slots that are available right now. I'll just leave this open for about 15-20 seconds or so, and if you can just let me know, that'll be great. And that brings me to questions, team. So happy to look at the questions that we have on chat, and let me just pull it down. MailChimp for email marketing is a question. So I have personally used MailChimp for email marketing in the past, and as a marketer, but not as a recruiter, right? So I think it does offer some excellent tools in terms of having the right templates. It does have some generative AI capabilities, and I would definitely use it again. But all depends on the kind of product that you're using it for. I would not necessarily use it as a prime tool for recruitment marketing, simply because in terms of the database that we have, the ability to sync with MailChimp might not be appropriate. You might not be able to always get in the right set of candidates and manage this segmented list. Which platform used for career pages which are free? Not sure about the other ones that we have. There are probably portals. There are probably portals which do offer things like Wix does offer the capability to create landing pages, but I would not recommend using free pages, because usually you cannot brand them according to what you want to do. So if you want to stamp your authority as an employer brand, it is important to have your own domain name or link to your domain name, and then call out the fact that you have a certain amount of jobs that are open, have your employer value proposition open, and get to a stage where you can actually collect those responses from there. Social media is a little bit of a tough one when it comes to recruiting, right? So when we have specific job opportunities which are there, which are posted, you can always link through the use of UTM codes, the applications that have come in through that channel. When people reach out to you through, let's say, LinkedIn InMail, it is possible to track some of those responses and record some of those responses. Whereas the social media as a tool, there are matrices that are available within the LinkedIn, for example, within LinkedIn, which tells you what sort of engagement that you've had on posts. It tells you what sort of visitors that you've had on posts on the pages, and the kind of likes and shares that you've had.
Yeah, Yogesh, and from the recruitment point of view also, when we look at our source mix, when I look at a source mix of my recruiters, we also try to see what has been the percentage of hiring through social media. If we are getting more success from social media for particular positions or for particular verticals, so we are able to get insights by means of the closures we get, and by means of how many, as you said, likes we are getting on the positions, and how many, actually what is the traction, what are the candidates' response rate like on the positions. So that helps you can keep measuring that.
Excellent. So the next question that I have is probably for you, Priya. What can recruiters do to ensure that candidates join and not back out at the last minute? I think this is a very
pain area for most of the
which we have at every
in
every webinar, right? I think this is a problem that marketers also have. How do you make sure that customers actually join a demo call and not back out at the last minute? So
I just believe in trusting the process, Yogesh. If as a process you've ensured complete transparency, you've given complete information, then it's eventually the person will join, is what I believe. But if at all the person doesn't join, there's no there are no hard feelings. It's all right, because then the person can become, because see, it's not that the candidate is only coming to interview with you. He might be in process with few other companies as well. So as we are evaluating multiple candidates, the candidate is also evaluating multiple opportunities. Sometimes we try to help them understand, especially when there are entry level candidates who are taking such decisions. We try to help them understand as to what could be the right decision. But then there are candidates who might have got something better than what we had to offer. So we help them move, and they also come up.
Sorry, right. I think that's a great point, great story even for marketers, where we are essentially saying that if you're not convincing them about the value of what you have to offer right from the beginning, it is quite likely that they will drop out at some point of time. The next piece that I have is on the personalized emails. let me just read this question. Personalized emails are
common these days.
Are very common these days and doesn't attract a response. In fact, multiple emailers lead to blocking an email. Are there other options to be marked as genuine? This is a very, very real problem that is there not just for recruiters, but also for marketing and sales. And with Google and Yahoo and a whole bunch of mail providers coming up with new rules pretty much every day, it is hard for folks like you and I who are not necessarily email marketing experts to be able to send out these mailers on a consistent basis. But what we can do and what we should be doing is use the right set of best practices that are there to send emails that are trustworthy. And that starts with making sure that your brand as a whole is being represented on the email there. So for instance, have you warmed up your email domain to a level where you're not being marked as spam or marked as junk? Are you using the right kind of subject line? Are you using the right pieces of information within the email itself, which is actually relevant to the offer that you have? In marketing, you would want to actually showcase that you're, for instance, you would not use words like free or available right now or discount, when those are surefire ways to get trapped into spam. You want to be really, really careful about the intent that you have. While the personalization is just one way, the message that you put in is also absolutely critical. The way that you're warming up the domain is also absolutely critical. Some of those are, of course, technical bits. And of course, if you're sending out these emails through Foundit's recruiter platform that's going to be available soon, we do take care of a lot of these things, which make it more likely that your email finds itself in an inbox rather into the spam or the junk folder. All right, could you suggest a few topics or ideas to push a brand recognition at the top of the funnel for HR recruitments on social media as well as email marketing? Priya, would you like to take that, or can I take a stab at it?
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
All right, great. So just like any other product marketing, it all starts with the story of what your brand is about. What do you stand for? Who do you serve, and how do you address that audience, right? So like what we saw on the Capgemini landing page, it was very clearly they were talking about what are the about their ethics, about their value systems, and what it means for themselves as a recruiter, and what is the larger problem that they're solving in the world, right? So a lot of it aligns with the corporate branding guidelines as well. And when you look at top of the funnel ideas, it is absolutely critical to think about it in a fashion that you're talking about a complete brand, not about a specific job. Because talking about a specific job is a little more bottom of the funnel. It's a little more specific to an outcome, to a candidate lead that you're looking for. Whereas when you're talking about awareness campaigns, you want to necessarily cover the impact that you've had to society as a whole, so that the candidate themselves can relate to what you're trying to see and relate to the fact that their purpose and your purpose are sort of matched and are in sync. Will you be able to tweak your offering specific to an industry? I'm not sure what it means, but then I do believe that our offering is fairly industry agnostic as of now, because we do have quite a few options that are there. But Sandra, maybe if you can get in touch with us, and maybe I can understand that a little bit more. All right. The next question probably is for you, Deepti. Sorry, for you, Priya. We have it from Deepti. Deepti says that we have been conducting virtual interviews, and there are a lot of fake candidates who try to mock at the time of the interview. Can we have some option to put feedback on such candidates? Is there a way that we can mark these candidates? I mean, I'm sure
we generally have the option of putting comments on the candidates if we've had. So since my team is a group of 10-15 recruiters who are working on positions, they are in one cohort, from the organization point of view. So when they have a, feedback on the particular candidate, they're able to leave a comment or, whatever this experience was with the candidate there. And by means of that, my other recruiters are, aware that there is, this challenge, and let's not probably touch this candidate.
Got it. And this is a new feature that we have introduced on the Foundit platform as well, which is going to go live soon, where you can put in comments about specific candidates, so that it can be shared across the organization. So from a
across the organization,
just like what
and that's a very valid point, very important for recruiters when they're working in a team, so that you don't approach the same candidate time and again. So saves a lot of time.
All right. The next question is, are these sessions recorded? Yes, they are being recorded, and you will receive a link, and we will be putting it up on our LinkedIn page as well. All right. Since our company is expanding our tech team, will Founded be able to help us know the top priorities or considerations that IT professionals are looking for in their next company to join to? So we are introducing what we are calling super profiles very shortly. That's the snapshot that I sort of showed you earlier. And on those profiles, you will actually be able to see what sort of expectations specific people have. So for instance, if I had to talk about, let's say, a junior marketer, right? This is just from my world. You'll be able to see what sort of roles that they want to do, what sort of projects that they want to work on. So specifically for individuals, you will be able to see their next priorities in terms of their career progression. All right, I think we are almost on time right now, team. So I definitely enjoyed the session, Priya, and I want to thank you. I want to thank the entire audience as well for joining us today. Please do keep the conversation going. We will have this on LinkedIn as well. So if you do head over to the Founded LinkedIn page, follow us over there. You'll be able to see those webinars. And if there's any questions that you have not asked us and you would like us to answer, please drop in your questions over there so that either me or one of my team members will get to it and we will answer you as soon as possible. So once again, thank you so much. And
thank you, Yogesh. Thank you so much for the participants. And I think it was a very interesting session for talent acquisition folks to learn from marketers, and a lot of takeaways from here. Thank you so much, Yogesh.